How you doing, brother? You had a question? You never heard of Issachar? Oh, Genesis 49. Issachar. Have you ever heard? I mean, are you familiar with the Bible like at all? You believe in it? Okay. So you know, there's a nation called Israel. It's God's chosen people. The nation is called Israel because these are people that descended from a specific man named Jacob. His name was changed to Israel. So his children are called the Israelites, meaning they're from Israel. One of those children, his name was Issachar. So all of Issachar's children are of the tribe of Issachar from the nation of Israel.
Bring that out.
And what we're out here to teach is that our people, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which would include Mexicans, of course, are the children of Israel of the various 12 tribes. Let's read a little bit about Issachar here in Genesis 49. This is a prophecy about what will befall the children of Israel. Get the beginning where he says that this is what's going to happen in the last days. You got the knife? Because we like knives. Oh, you guys have a great day. It was good seeing you. We like knives. Well, Jesus Christ, who the world calls Jesus Christ, told his disciples, if you don't have a sword, sell your garment and buy one. So even then, with him, he told them to have swords. Right? You're not naked out here because we got your back, brother.
That's right.
We're not gonna let nothing happen to you, man.
That's right. This is Genesis chapter 49, verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
So he's gathering his sons together to tell him about what's going to happen in the last days. He's referring to his sons that he's speaking to, but really what he's talking about is their descendants off into the future, which is what we're going to, be seeing right now and today.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 14. Issachar is a strong ass.
So he said Issachar is like a strong ass. An ass is a donkey. See? So now we no bueno? It is good. You're strong as a donkeys are very strong. That's a great quality.
In the culture, the Mexican culture, los campesinos, ellos tienen, mulas también, que son donkeys, right?
You want to take this one?
No. I was just further expounding on what you said. Sometimes it's better, if you add on.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you won't understand.
Absolutely. So he said Issachar is a strong ass, and we see that the donkey is a very important thing in the representation in artwork and things like that in lore in Mexico, right? So this is a clue. Go ahead.
Issachar is a strong ass, couching down between two burdens.
So Issachar is crouching down between two burdens. On one side of Issachar, you have, land to the bottom. You have the rest of Central and South America, and above you have North America, right? So there's these two oppressive nations on either side, because the Spaniards had conquered a lot of Central and South America, and the English had conquered most of North America, and further north the French. Go ahead.
And he saw that rest was good.
Now, people kind of get uptight when things like stereotypes start coming out, but stereotypes don't just come out of thin air. There are stereotypes about black people because these are things that people observe about black people. There are stereotypes about Mexicans or Native Americans or Puerto Ricans or whatever because these are things that are observable. They're not always the case, but these are things that sometimes people become known for, right? Now, one thing a lot of people know is the term siesta. And that's associated with our Mexican brothers. And it says that he saw that rest was good, right? But he's also a very hard worker. Nobody in the world is going to dispute the hardest working people on the earth are Mexicans.
That's right.
There's no argument. Nobody works harder than Mexicans. It doesn't matter. Like, anybody can feel however they want about, oh no, my people work not harder than Mexicans. No, you don't. Go ahead.
And he saw that rest was good, and that the land that it was pleasant. And he bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
So it said he bowed his shoulder to bear and became a servant unto tribute. What happened when the Spaniards got here? They ended up being servants and had to pay their tribute to the Spaniards. When the Spaniards got here, they said, They came in peace. And the conquistadors said, you know, we want to serve your God. Take us to your temple so we can serve your gods. And then when they got brought to the temple, that's when they started killing everybody. And the reason they said that is because they knew the gold would be in the temples. So they just had to find it. So they started killing all the strong men. Well, not all of them, but, you know, killing as many strong men as they could, putting the people in subjugation, making them work, and taking their riches. Became a servant of the tribute. This is part of the history as far as what's happened in Mexico. And this is not something that only happened in Mexico. This happened to my people, the Levites, right? Primarily the Haitians, you know, Colombians, all of us. All of us were taken in captivity and made to serve our enemies. And our chief enemy is the so-called white man.
That's right.
And even when we look at certain names, right? You look at the name Mexico. When we look at the name Mexico, it comes from a Hebrew-derived word, which is Mashika, which in Hebrew is Mashiach, which means anointed. So when you guys came over to this side of the world and named yourselves Mashika, you were naming yourselves the anointed. This is because you knew your history already. God had already chosen you.
Right.
Are you familiar with Quetzalcoatl? I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Am I pronouncing that right? Quetzalcoatl? Quetzalcoatl? How do you say it? You're not familiar? It's a deity in Mexican lore, Aztec lore, and it is the exact same story as what we read about of Christ. He was crucified, pierced in the side. He had dark skin, woolly hair. It's the exact same thing. Have you ever been to New Mexico? The state of New Mexico? There's a place called Los Lunas. In Los Lunas, there's a monolithic stone with ancient writings inscribed on it. White people couldn't figure it out forever. They just realized that the writings on that ancient scroll, on the ancient stone, are actually in Paleo Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, a version of the language that hasn't been spoken in thousands of years. Actually, since the time of the prophet Ezra, or that writing stuff. As a matter of fact, these characters on my shirt right here, this word right here is the name of the Most High God. This right here is on that stone. And when you translate it in the Hebrew and you read it, the 10 Commandments are on that stone. And it was the native people of this land that inscribed those words on that stone. Los Lunas, Mexico. I used to live 20 minutes away from there. I just moved out here from New Mexico. And it's an incredible thing to see. See, so we get all these clues in the Bible. You have, you know, the contemporary things that we see from ancient Mexico that match up with the Bible. The names match up with the language. The archaeology matches up. Everything matches up and proves that you are the chosen people of God.
Right.
And that's why we come out here to tell you that you're the chosen people of God.
Get out.
And that comes with a responsibility, because He gave us commandments. Go to Deuteronomy 28. Start at 1. He gave us commandments, and He said that if we keep these commandments, these things will happen to us. If we don't keep the commandments, these things will happen to us. Right? So go ahead.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all His commandments.
To observe and do all His commandments. Go ahead.
Which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God set thee above all nations of the earth.
So He's going to set us on high above all the nations of the earth. Now, did that happen? No, it did not. We went through many curses. We would have been blessed if we had just kept these commandments. But when we read the history of what our ancestors did, they broke the commandments. And even to this day, our people are still breaking the commandments. And it's up to us to come back. But let's see what He said would happen if we broke those commandments. Verse 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So if you don't listen, go ahead.
To observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So it says all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. Now I want to point something out. He read verse 1 where it said these blessings were going to come upon you if you keep the laws. And already by 15, we're already talking about curses, right? So that's only a few verses talking about blessings that we would have got. The curses start from 16 and go all the way to 68. It's a lot of curses. And our people, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, fit every single one of those curses to the T. There's not another people on the face of this planet that can say the same thing. They might be able to say, oh, this one right here kind of sort of happened to my people, but they can't go down the whole list. And the reason is because this is unique. Go to where, what is it, 44? Where it says this would be a sign. 46. All right, go ahead.
Start at 45. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign, and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
So these curses are how we were going to be able to identify who Israel even is. Because one of these curses says that we were going to lose our heritage. We were going to forget who we were. But when we come back to reading our manuscripts and we see these curses, we can look at these curses and say, wait a minute, this is me. All of this is me. All of this is my ancestors. And that's how we're going to figure out again that we are who this is talking about in the first place. And it's always been about us. Those people that are over there in the land of Israel today are not Israelites. They're not. They're converts. Revelation 2 and 9. Well, the way we take that over is by making the Most High God favor us again so he can fight for us. Because right now, Israel has the greatest defense system in the entire world. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Iron Dome, their defense system. They're warring with the Arabs over there, right? Arabs will send missiles at the nation state of Israel, and their Iron Dome system sees the missile coming, intercepts it with another missile, sees where the missile came from, and sends a precision missile directly to where that missile just came from. There's not much the Arabs can really do against all that. They're, for the most part, throwing rocks, and they get a couple of missiles here and there. They try to launch them, and they don't work. They don't work. And what the Arabs lack, we lack even more.
Why are they attacking?
Why are the Arabs attacking them? Because they were previously living in that land. And in 1948, the United Nations came together and said, all these Arabs got to go, and these white people are going to move in. The Arabs said, we're not moving, so they killed those Arabs. So the ones that they didn't kill are still fighting. This is a war that's been going on since they got there. Over 50 years. Go ahead. Let's see what the Bible says about these people that claim to be Jews.
This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
So he said he knows, read it from the top again.
I know thy works and tribulation.
He said he knows our works and tribulation. The works are a reference to the things that we do to please the Most High God. Those people that are in the land that call themselves Jews, those people in New York that you see with the little side curls, with the little funny hat on, they don't do anything to please God. They're not keeping the laws. They're following after something they call the Talmud. The Talmud actually says it's okay to have sexual relations with young boys because they're not technically men, so they don't consider it a homosexual union. That's evil. That's evil as hell. The Bible says they're supposed to be put to death for that. One, it's homosexual, and two, it's pedophilia. They're damaging these children. A lot of babies, especially in New York, these so-called Jewish babies are coming up with herpes because they'll circumcise the baby like the Bible says, but they'll do it in their own twisted way. After they cut the foreskin off, they'll suck the blood off with their mouths. And a lot of these babies have been getting herpes from these so-called rabbis. They're the most evil people on the face of the planet. That's why God said that they are the synagogue of Satan.
Right.
These are not God's chosen people. You're God's chosen people.
Right.
Me too. We are in this together. We brothers and sisters. We have sisters here as well.
That's right.
Shalom to all of y'all. No, we got the point. You know, it says their tribulation. They're not going through tribulation. They're the richest people on the planet.
Get out.
When it says, but thou art rich, it's talking about our riches that are stored up in heaven. They don't have riches stored up in heaven. They have riches that are stored right here. That's why they're enjoying it now. And we're suffering right now. But when we come back to the law, statutes, and commandments, the Most High God's going to put us on top. And He's going to fight for us. The prophecy said that one of us, in that day, that one of us would send 100 to fight.
That's right.
So you can run up on 100 of their soldiers, and them just seeing you, they can take off and run. Right? We don't necessarily have that power as a whole right now because we haven't come back to what it is that we need to do. There are many great feats that are talked about in the Bible. People always talk about Jesus walking on water, but He told us that we would do the same things and even greater.
That's right.
And people forget that Peter walked on water right with Him.
That's right.
Nobody talks about that. They say that was just something unique to only Jesus could do that. Peter did it too. Because Jesus told him he couldn't, he believed it. Then his faith wavered, and that's when he fell. He said if we had faith as the grain of a mustard seed, which is a tiny little thing, we could tell a mountain to move from hence, and the mountain will move.
That's right.
We read about King David charging into battle, leaping over walls. We read about Samson killing a lion with his bare hands and slaying heaps upon heaps of men with the jawbone of an ass. An animal's jawbone. A donkey killed an innumerable number of men. God gives these men great power because they serve and worship and have faith in Him. So we have to come back to that. And it's not just enough to say that we believe in Him. We have to show it by action. So when He tells us that we have to stop eating things like pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, we got to give up those things. Those are not food. We were taught to eat those by our enemies. If they want to eat it, let them kill themselves. Let them get tapeworms. We don't need tapeworms. Our bodies are temples. We're supposed to treat our bodies like the most holy thing because the Most High God's Spirit dwells in us.
Bring it out.
The same way a Christian would look at you if you were spray painting on the side of their church wall. Oh, that's so disrespectful. But then we go and poison our bodies with all kinds of nonsense, all kinds of bad foods, drugs, get tattoos and do scarification and all this stuff. The Most High God said don't do any of that. The Most High God don't care about that church building. He said He doesn't dwell in buildings made with hands.
Right.
So what we got to do is we got to come back to the truth of the Bible, do what He said, not do what He said not to do, and then He'll do the rest for us. It says that the Most High God will fight for you. And if God be for you, who can be against you? Nobody. Nobody. You got one more thing for me.
Just to add on to what he said about the Most High not dwelling in temples made by hands. It says it here in the book of Acts 7:48. Howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as says the prophet. So you see that He doesn't dwell in temples made by hands. The temple is your body. That's why He said take care of your body, and we shouldn't do half the things we do to ourselves because you know what, we're so brainwashed by the things of the earth and the ways of this world that we are tired of that and we listen to that, and we want to accustom ourselves to be like the other people when we should be set apart as a nation. That's why our people are so destroyed, man. Because of that fact, you know. And this is why we are out here every Saturday trying to bring our people back into the fold, so that we can unlearn the ways of the heathen and learn the ways of the Most High, which have been health since the beginning for us and have been life. You know, and if we do these things, we're gonna have eternal life, man.
That's how we get it. Hey, thank you, brother.